There we go. Hello and welcome. If you're new to Qigong, welcome. I'm Cyndi. I'm going to be starting with some warm-ups to get the energy moving and feel some opening into our joint. We're going to work with something called the 9 gates, the major joints of the body. Make sure you can see my arms up here. Good. Okay. So start by closing your eyes and tuning into the breath as you inhale. Imagine taking in a nice fresh dose of your own internal medicine, and as you exhale, just let the excess go away. Anything that's stagnant energies, heavy, dense energies. If you want, you can use your hands to kind of emulate a rising up on an inhale and a sinking down on an exhale. Yeah, just creating that bridge between the breath and the form and the awareness of sensation as it moves through the body. You might even try rocking a little bit into the pads of the feet and into the heels. This is just a moment to gather yourself into this moment, into this space before we begin warming up. We'll let others kind of gather into the space with us. Welcome, everyone. Good. Go ahead and shake out the hands a little bit. Shift your weight from side to side. You can feel some movement now in the wrists and the ankles. Good. We'll start with warming up the legs and the ankles. We'll take the weight and post it into one leg, and whichever leg makes sense for you. It's kind of hard to do with this mirror imaging. So whatever leg works good for you to post your weight into. Let the other hip get freed up as you pivot the heel inwardly and outwardly, internally and externally rotating the hip. Good. No right or wrong way to do it, just the way that feels like there's some movement happening. That's it. And then posting our weight into the right leg or the opposite leg for you. For me, it's my right leg. And I'm lifting up my pant leg just so you can see my heel. And the movement's coming from the hip, even though it's the heel that appears to be creating the movement. It's the internal and external rotation in the hip here, where the leg connects to the pelvis, an area we call the qua. We're trying to increase the circulation and awareness in this area of the body, warming things up in the ankles as well. Good, as you come center. Let's step forward with one leg. Now in Qigong we have points on the palms of the hands and points on the soles of the feet, entry points into the body. And with this exercise, 1 foot forward, 1 foot back, we're going to be rocking into what's called the bubbling spring. And it's this point, like if you curve your toes, there's this little dimple right about here. And this is where it's said that the energy from the earth rises up. Let me adjust this just a moment so you can see my feet. See my feet a little better. So you want to imagine energy from the earth rising up into the feet through these points. And as we shift our weight forward, we'll let our arms come up. As we shift our weight back, let them come back. And you want to feel as though you're rocking into those points, stimulating the soles of the feet. Good. You can breathe in as you raise your hands and step forward, and breathe out as you swing back. Or just let the breathing find its own pattern and keep the movement steady. Good. Attention on the feet. Rocking into these points. Imagine stimulating and opening a doorway at the sole of the feet where I indicated to the earth. That's it. Good. And then step the feet together. Step the opposite foot back. Good. And as you come into your stance, you want to channel between your feet so you're not on a balance beam, but there's a nice wide channel between the feet so you're rooted and stable and you're not going to tip. And then we again bring our attention to the points on the feet and then rocking across those points, letting the arms move so that we're simultaneously moving through the gates of the arms, the wrists, the elbow, and the shoulder, the gates of the legs, the ankles, the knees, and the hips. So a couple more times. Again, you can coordinate the breath with this or not, just so it feels easy and natural, and most of your attention is on the feet. Good, and then step the feet together. Let your arms rest to your side. Good. And now with the feet together, we're going to externally rotate outward with the toes, and then externally rotate outward with the heels, and then bring the feet parallel and find a nice stance where we can, again, bend the knees and sink a little bit into the knees and make that pelvis so it's not tilting forward or not tilting back, but it's just kind of swinging in between a forward tilt and a backward tilt. It's like a bowl, holding a bowl of fruit. And we'll consider that bowl of fruit our internal organs. Just holding that for a moment and shifting our weight from side to side again. Still warming up the legs, bringing attention to the feet and imagining energy rising up the legs from the earth. That energy is from the core of the earth rising up into the roots of our tree, our legs. And now we'll challenge our balance a little bit and do a little exercise for the legs that can help us warm things up for our practice. As we shift in one direction and post weight on one leg, we have the freedom then to lift the other leg and take the heel towards the opposite glute. And then shift the weight. Post it, shift, and lift. And cross the midline of the body with that heel towards the opposite side. Good. Sinking into the roots and pulling energy up the roots. Sinking in and pulling up. Good. So we're working with wood energy in the spring, supporting the liver. The wood energy is energy that rises up and brings life to form. We want to feel our body filling with that life force. Feel our roots being energized. One more in each direction. That's it. And now we want to free up some energy off the top of the quadricep. So we'll, again, post weight to one leg, take the other foot and just kick it like you're flicking sand off your big toe. Give it a flick and see if you can feel a little ripple of sensation on the top of the knee. And then visually, use your visual capacity to see flinging off stagnant energy off the legs. Just freeing up that root system of anything that strangulates the energy in the flow. We want our roots to be able to reach deep into the earth and draw from that life force. Good. One more on each side. Good. Come back to the center. Bring your hands to your hips. And we'll just do little circles here. Start small. You want to feel that spine going into extension as you come forward. A little stretch on the hip as you go to the side. Good. And then flexation as you come back with the hips, forward with the head. Circling those hips. Be nice and easy, nice and slow. Move through the curves of this geometry, hitting all the edges slowly, collecting all the energy that's available as we open up that pelvic bowl. Now reverse direction, same thing other way. Do it at your pace and with the rhythm of breathing that feels natural for you. Eventually, throughout the practice, we come to a place where we feel an effortless power, something moving through us. So the amount of effort on our part gets less and less as we ride on the momentum of the energy we're building through our movement and our intention. Good, now come to the center and pause again and let your arms rest to your side. We'll roll the shoulders up and back and start working with the gates of the arms. Starting with the shoulders, roll them up and back, opening the chest and shoulders. Let the hands now slide down the back of the legs. And then let the hands wrap around the knees and slide up the inside of the legs. Roll the shoulders. Let the hands trace around to the kidneys. Slide down the back of the legs, around the knees and up the inside. Let's do that one more time. Now let the backs of the hands come together up the center of the body, up the front of the spine, up and over the head, and go ahead and bring the arms down. Good. Take one hand into the opposite hand at the what's called the yin field or the lower dantian. Good. And we're going to bring our thumb into the palm of the hand, and just like we stimulated the point on the foot that's responsible for allowing energy into the body, we'll do the same thing with the palm. And if you're new to this, simply bending your fingers and where your middle finger lands is the point that we're after. Just by stimulating that point, we're going to bring blood flow to the hands. You can see it just by looking at the pinkness of the hand increasing from that stimulation. Good. And then take that palm towards the heart with the opposite hand on top. And then pressing out with the arm straight, you're using the opposite hand to fold in and get a nice stretch on the top of the wrist. Good. And now bring the hand back and take this hand, fingers on top of the opposite fingers. And as you push forward with the heel of the hand, drop back on those fingers and stretch the bottom or the underside of the wrist. And releasing and giving that hand a shake. Now take your index finger and thumb and wrap around the wrist and get a little massage on the wrist, prise it a little bit, wrapping all the way up the forearm to the elbow, and then wrapping energy around the elbow. You can imagine energy from that opposite hand penetrating into the joint, and then we'll tap and release any congested energy around the joint. And scrub the top of the forearm, and then brush down the arm. Good. There's a point between the index finger and thumb. If we squeeze that tight, there's this fleshy spot. We're going to take our index finger and thumb and get in there with a nice deep massage, as deep as is comfortable for you, feeling into any discomfort. Just knowing that any discomfort is a stagnant energy that we want to move out and increase more flow into that area. Good. And to support ourselves, we'll shake again. And then just pause for a moment and notice the difference between your two arms. It's sort of helpful for me to close my eyes as I land my attention on my body to discern the effects of my efforts, and particularly in comparison to the opposite arm. Good. And so if you're noticing something, sometimes it's energy, can be tingling, a puffiness, a heat, can be all number of things. Whatever you're feeling is perfect for you. We just want to understand that it's an increase in circulation and blood flow. If you look at that hand, it's going to be pinker. And it's also to acknowledge that where energy flows follows the blood flow. So if energy isn't a word you're comfortable with or familiar with, think of circulation. And that's what we're doing, is increasing the circulation. So taking now the opposite hand on top, go ahead and take the thumb and press into the palm where we find that point where the middle finger lands. And the Lao Gong point is its name. We're going to stimulate that point, and imagine as we stimulate it, we're opening the perception of the hand, sensitivity to energy. You can think of it like magnetism. We're increasing the magnetism of the hand to responsiveness to the energy in the field around us. Good, and taking that palm towards the heart as if that openness and receptivity in the palm is turning towards the heart. And then straighten that arm and push out, and with the opposite hand pull back, creating some tension between the hands to force a stretch on the top of the wrist. Let it be gentle. It doesn't have to be painful to be effective. And then draw the hand back, taking the fingers of the opposite hand on top of the fingers of that hand that we're stretching, and then push out again, flexing, stretching the wrist. Good, and then relaxing and shaking that out, taking the index finger and thumb, giving a good rotation in this wrist joint that collects a lot of energy. Anytime we have lots of parts, we have more proneness to stagnation. Go all the way up. So we have lots of parts in the hands and the feet and in all the major joints, like the elbow. Good, let's roll around and penetrate that elbow with some heat, some energy. Good, and then tap. Tapping is a form of self-massage, helps break up stagnant energies, increase the flow of circulation to the tissue. Rubbing and scrubbing, another form of self-massage on top of that forearm, and then brushing and shaking again. Another form of massage, not a typical form of massage we hear about, but it's as effective. The thumb and the first finger create your L, squeeze, and what you're going to see is a little bit of a plumpness happening here in between. Taking that thumb and index finger and giving it a good amount of pressure, as much as you can tolerate. You want to get in and feel that stagnation. It's there. We all have it. It's a good point for clearing stagnation. Yeah, and then shake. Good. Let the arms relax to the side, bend the knees, and let's do a little bouncing here and shaking. Good. Your feet are at least hip width apart, if not a little wider, maybe hip and a half width apart, as we begin to rotate the spine to warm up the vertebrae of the spine, the other gates of the body. The cervical, thoracic, and lumbar spine are three sections of the spine that are the other three gates. We're going to go ahead and start tapping on the opposite kidney, the hand that sweeps behind, pulls up, and the back of the hand taps on that opposite kidney, stimulating the chi. And again, knocking on any stuckness or stimulation to get it back into the flow. Easily moving through these twists. You want to imagine as you're turning that you're pivoting on the big toe, And the pelvis is then turning, and then the arms are swinging in response to the shoulders rotating. We bring our attention to our big toe, plugging it into the earth and bringing heat to the feet. A couple more times here. We'll be moving our spine in the 6 directions it was designed to move in, to increase the flow of energy through the spine. Rotating to the right and the left are 2 of the 6 directions. Slow it down. Coming to a pause long enough to check in and see, notice how that feels. How does that rotation land for you in your body? What do you notice? Yeah, just take a moment. And we're going into a very simple exercise called flowing. It's a very traditional exercise. We'll do a couple variations of this. It begins in Wu Chi stance or preliminary stance, where we have our feet rooted, our knees are slightly bent, our pelvis again isn't tilting back or forward, but it's a nice and neutral position where it almost feels like that tailbone can swing a little forward and back, but there's no effort in holding anything tense. We're going to roll the shoulders back and let the arms rest to the side. Good. Lift the crown of the head upward. Pull the chin slightly down and find this stance that feels like energy can flow freely through you without any interruption. And as we inhale, we'll let the arms float up with the palms up, just about shoulder level. And then as we exhale, turn the palms and let the arms just float back down towards earth, gravity taking the arms back. So the inhale, imagine the air filling up the lungs, lifting the arms, and the exhale, arms just giving themselves back to the earth. Slowly coordinating the movement with the breath. Now we can bring our attention to our feet again. As we let the arms rise, we slowly shift our weight into the pads of our feet. And as our hands turn over and we exhale, we shift our weight a little into the heels of the feet. And try that out with your sense of balance. See how that lands for you. Good. What's also happening here is there is an effect on the brain as we start to slow down the breathing. And we coordinate slow movements to complement the slowing of the breath. Our brain enters a different, we could call it algorithm, I think. I'm not sure if that would apply, that word. I'll have to look that up. But we enter a different rhythm for sure. And we go from what is our typical brainwave function, known and labeled as beta, to more of an alpha level brainwave, which creates a little bit more gap, a little bit more space between our thoughts, and has a relaxation effect on the body. Now, next level is to sink back into the heels enough to lift the toes. See if you can do that without losing your balance. And rising up, see if you can lift your heels a little bit, rising up enough to contract the calf muscles, and then sinking back down, lifting the toes. Inhale and exhale. You can also imagine, use your own imagination, or use the imagination of gathering energy from behind and bringing it up. And bringing it back down towards what's called the yin field or the lower dantian, where we store our qi, our jing energy, or our life force energy. So we're creating more endurance for the lower body through these leg movements, but also creating a reserve of energy for our entire physical body and all the energy required to keep it functioning the way it's designed, by gathering this energy and pulling it into what we might want to call a reservoir, or think of it like putting money in the bank and having a reserve rather than spending all your energy or all your money. We're gathering and collecting. Now, we're going to try something a little bit differently. And let's see, I want you to be able to see my feet. So what we were doing as we raised our arms was rising up into the pads of the feet. I want you to try to raise your arms and sink into the heels, and then lower your arms and rise up into the toes. Good. Try reversing that and see which one feels more natural for you. No, there's no right or wrong way to do it. There's a way that feels easy and effortless, and there's a way that feels a little bit more efforting. And so we want to go with the way that feels the least amount of effort, called the art of effortless power. Good. Now just do about 4 more and see if we can really slow it down. And notice the difference in your hands as you slow down. See if you can feel a little bit more. The slower you move, the more you feel. And it's okay if you don't feel anything in your hands. You're still getting the benefits of a relaxation response on the body from slowing down. This time, let the hands come all the way up and over the head, as if you're pouring this energy over the head, and then press out through the arms, extend it out through your field, and bring the hands together next to your sides. Good. We're going to go into a side movement exercise for the spine. So this is our lateral flexibility in our spine. It's called side bending. Some traditions call it bamboo in the wind. So if it's safe for your neck, let your ear come to your shoulder as you bend to one side, and then visually seeing your spine move into this position like you have X-ray vision. Take your vision internally into your body. See your spine moving side to side. There's many benefits to this very simple exercise for the lymph system. It's propelling lymph fluid, and it's supporting deeper layers of spinal flexibility and conditioning the cushion between each vertebrae, the discs. Good, and we talked about in our book study today bringing attention to the internal organs. So as you bend to the left, you're compressing the spleen, and as you bend to the right, you're compressing, squeezing, or massaging the liver. And the alternate is true. So if I'm compressing the spleen, then I'm opening space into the liver. So it's sort of like contracting and releasing a muscle, contracting and releasing a muscle. When we contract the muscle, we force the lymph fluid out and the blood fluid out of the muscle, like squeezing a sponge. And when we relax, like a sponge, it absorbs the nourishment back in. So we're recirculating energy into these organs as we're simultaneously stretching the muscles along the spine, fortifying the disc between each vertebrae. Good. Now you can try to add a little bit more with the arm movement coming overhead if that supports you. If your shoulder flexibility can support moving the arm overhead, try to keep the elbow slightly bent. adds just another dimension to our stretch, a little bit more of a challenge for the core as the weight of our arm is moving to the opposite side of the body. Notice how slow we're moving and how on the outside it appears easy, but there's actually a little bit more challenge and difficulty in moving slow. Let's do a couple more on each side. So you can see today we're going back to the basics in our practice. It's always a good idea to go back to the basics. The foundational practices that when done always support those more complex sequences and movements and demands that we put on our body. Good, rolling those shoulders back and bend the knees slightly. Good, lift the arms up and over the head. Take the hands behind the head and imagine curling the fingers in towards the back of the neck and pulling stress off the back of the neck as you push it out and away from the body. And then drop the hands as you soften the wrists and let the weight of the fingers get heavy. And imagine streams of energy that are coming off the back of the neck, off the top of the shoulders, that is tension, draining out the fingers and down to the earth. And then bring the arms together. Good, and bring the hands up towards the heart, facing the heart. We're going to slide down the front of the body with the palms. And when the hands get down to the hips, we're going to turn the palms towards the earth and then turn the palms away from the body as the arms rise up. Now again, work with your level of flexibility for your shoulders. If you need to stop at the level of the shoulders, you can do that. If you can, go all the way up and create a nice extension in the spine here. Stretching the front of the spine, compressing the back of the spine, stretching the muscle of the front of the body. And then as we exhale, we bring the hands towards the body, create fists, pull down and in, contract, squeeze, compress. Now here, you want to imagine the perineum, the base of the pelvic bowl, lifting and squeezing upward as you squeeze down and in, even taking the arms, pressing into the breast, squeezing and moving that lymph fluid out of the lymph nodes in the breast tissue, circulating. And then as we rise back up to relax, we bring the palms back to the starting position. Good, and coordinating the breath, inhale into extension, coming out here if the possibility of raising your arms over your shoulders isn't available to you today. And then exhaling, contracting, squeezing, and lifting from the base of the spine upward, tucking in, squeezing navel to spine, contract, squeeze, and relax. Good, inhale. Exhale. So creating any kind of nuance to this that works for you, that feels more flowing than what I'm describing, is perfectly permissible. You have the freedom to create your own practice using the general guidelines, understanding the general benefits, working with your body's capacity and flexibility and your own creativity. So rather than just coming straight down, you can do a whole arm movement if you want to into this position, squeezing in, tucking in, tightening everything, and then imagining, seeing a nice rinse on all the organs, glands, muscles, and joints happening as you release the stagnant energy. Good, and we inhale, lift the energy, raise the energy up, open the front body, and exhale, stretching the back body, curving inward, tightening everything up. Good, seeing the muscles pile in to that pelvic bowl on top of each other. Good, juicing those organs, pushing hands down. Good, helping the internal organs eliminate the waste material from the functions that they serve, the processes, keeping the body cleansed, hydrated, nourished, mobile. Squeeze, tighten, condense, compress, and release. So once you think you've let go of that breath totally, see if you can let a little more breath out. So inhaling, exhaling, letting all the breath out, squeezing in, you let all the breath out, and then let a little more out. One more time. Good, now just let the arms float up. Back towards the shoulders, push forward. And like the hands are going over a little ramp, float down. Good. Let the arms come overhead. And bring the backs of the hands together and guide this energy now that we've opened up and circulated through the field, through the center of the spine. Inhale, gather up and around the body. Exhale, direct it into the center line of the body. Good, if you can bend your knees and go a little deeper under the knees and then turn the palms and reach up, gather, giving the energy direction, circulating all this energy that's been freed up, giving it direction and calling it back into the river of life that flows through the center of the spine, nourishing those organs. Fold only as far forward as is comfortable for you. Come up only as quickly as you can without getting lightheaded, and then modify your arm movements to support your shoulder flexibility. Do that 2 more times in this direction. Breathing on the way up. Good. Here, if you don't want to raise your arms over your shoulders, you just bring that fold right into the middle dantian. Good. And if you don't want to bend down, you just stop right here and work at ear level. And we'll shorten up this range of motion and just bring this energy right into the center. And this time turn. As you bring it down to the center, rotate, palms up, bring it down to the lower dantian, and then pull the energy up and flow down and around. So same movement, reverse order, still guiding the energy through the center, pulling up from the roots, raising up through the trunk and into the branches, and letting the chi shower the field all the way down. See anything in your body that needs support, extra energy, being able to receive it from this shower of chi. And then again, as I mentioned, get creative and flow in a way that supports you. Good, we're going to do an exercise coming up called Supporting Heaven. Do one more of these. And as we bring the arms down, do it so slowly. See what you notice in your hands as you move more slowly. You might be noticing a little movement of energy in the legs, even standing still. There's a sensation there. Good. And we're interlacing our fingers. Good. Pull the hands to the heart, palms facing the heart. And we're going to push the hands down. Turn the palms towards the earth. And then as the arms raise up, turn the palms towards me. And then bring the arms up and over the head. And then let the arms go. And sink back down into the roots. Now, we're going to add that invitation for those that want it to challenge the balance and to pump the energy from the lower legs up into the heart by raising the heels this time if you choose to, as the arms come up above the shoulders, or if you're not lifting your arms above your shoulders, you can still lift onto the pads of the feet. And then as you lower the heels down to the earth. Good. Interlace the fingers, draw the energy up. Turn it, push it down. Extend it outward. Good. Now lifting through the legs. Lift those heels. Bring it up. Look upward if it's possible for you. If not, just look forward. Lower down and try to control the movement as you lower so that you're landing into the heels, balanced in coordination with the arms. Inhale, exhale. Inhale. Elbows bent. Exhale. You can feel the stretching happening in the tendons of the arms, stretching of the fingers as we press down. You can feel the fingers pulling upward, pushing outward through the heels of the hands, stretching the upper back. A lot going on in this. Come on up. Look up if it's possible, or look straight ahead if not. And then release the arms down, landing in the heels. We'll do that 2 more times, really slowing it down even more. Let the hands come together, the backs of the hands come together up the center, over the head, down at least to the knees if you can. Clearing the knees, bring the hands up to the heart, clearing the heart. Good, and let's just create that circle. Brushing over the knees, clearing any congestion in the knees, any congestion in the heart and the lungs. Bring the hands up. Pushing out. And releasing down. Pause for a moment and notice how you feel. Notice what you notice. Everyone's a little different, tuned into different sensory awareness. We might be a visceral person. We feel things, sensation more. We might be more aware of an emotional shift that's happened, maybe a mental shift, maybe something that's been bothering us isn't such a big deal anymore. Just notice how the relaxation effect lands on you. And stopping to acknowledge it increases its effectiveness. So that's why we do that. So whatever we put our attention on expands. So we want to put our attention on the benefits that we're gaining from the practice of slowing down, breathing, moving in the way the body was designed to move to create a sense of flow, which creates a sense of mobility, and mobility leads to longevity. This is essentially why these practices were developed in the first place, was for the purpose of longevity. We'll do another exercise that's really fun and spontaneous, and some people will feel really comfortable in it and others will not feel as comfortable. It's called spontaneous movement, also called drunken chi, and it's really just about allowing your body to get as relaxed as you possibly can and move in a spontaneous way that actually from the outside might look like you're drunk. So your muscles are so relaxed you can't even depend on them, so you have to keep adapting to move in ways that are unexpected in the moment based on trying not to fall over. And what happens here is that we invite the element of surprise into our space because we want to surprise our body. We don't want everything to be so predictable. And when we surprise our body with these movements like spontaneous movement and drunken chi, it makes us more alert, more aware, more tuned in, and more adaptable. And it's certainly what we want in our life, is to have our body have this astute ability to adapt on the fly in the moment to whatever is being thrown at it. And so we intentionally throw these spontaneous movements into our practice to lighten things up, for one thing, but to also just have this sense of trusting in our body and a sense of playfulness. So with that, we're going to go ahead and begin to do a cool down and an integration. I hope that was fun for you, playful. Shake it out a little bit if you need a little bit more. Letting go. And one more time, close your eyes and tune in and notice how that landed for you, that freedom. Did that kind of freedom feel good? Or is there a part of you that really would rather be guided and led in a structure that has specific instructions? And neither one is right or wrong. It's just noticing what we're comfortable with, what we're not comfortable with, and being comfortable in the discomfort, being willing to be more uncomfortable than we typically allow ourselves to be, because there's only growth where there's a little discomfort. And we're giving ourselves permission to grow a little bit at a time with a little bit of discomfort, supporting ourselves in a safe way for expansion. Now, take the arms overhead, and as your arms cross over the head and come downward, you're going to let your fingertips curl in and tap on what's called the lung points, just below the collarbone and out to the edges where the arm's connecting to where the shoulder's connecting here to the torso. And this tapping is stimulating the lung. You can imagine your lung having this sort of contracting and releasing response to the stimulation. Good. Now extend one arm and tap down the inside of that arm. And this is a way to bring the energy to the surface and call it up from the depths of the roots and out to the branches. Good. Tapping on the armpit and tapping down the side of the body across the infield under the navel, and take both hands, tap on the hips, around to the kidneys, down the back of the legs, bending as deep as you can. If you can't go all the way down, that's fine. Bring your tapping up the front of the legs. By the way, this is a little late to mention it, but you could do everything we were doing today seated. We're going down the outside of the legs now, up the inside of the legs, tapping on that point where the leg inserts into the pelvis, and then tapping up the torso into what are called the liver points, up, around, and crossing over again to those lung points. And then taking that opposite arm to extend, create that runway for your movement down the inside of the arm. It's a soft fist, so it's nothing too intense, somewhat gentle, but effective enough to move energy. Let your arm rise and keep it underneath the armpit and tap on that lymph point around the breast tissue down, underneath the navel, the opposite hip. Get in there around these hips, into the glutes, up to the kidneys, down the back of the legs, up the front, down the outside, up the inside, and pausing at the quad. Good. Now take your hand, creating a knife with your hand, like this, and take the knife edge of the hand and go ahead and create a score mark right here at the quad. Create some heat. Now pull up and press your hands into your kidneys. Lean into that. Lean into the heat of the hands and let the kidneys take the heat of the hands, the energy in the hands. Kidneys are our deepest organ, housing our vitality and our life force. Often it's said that the energy of fear gets stored in the kidneys. So when our kidneys are depleted, we can be more prone to fear. So we're filling up those kidneys. And then we'll brush down the back of the legs, just brushing, reaching out, gathering heaven and drawing heaven up the inside of the legs, up the front of the body, over the head, pressing out through the arms. And we'll do one tracing on the upper body meridians, taking one hand under the yin field, up the opposite side of the torso, underneath the opposite arm, over the top. And then turning the head, brushing the cheek. Good, pulling tension off the neck and shoulder. Do the opposite thing. Actually, same thing, opposite side. Underneath, up top. Turn the cheek, brush, pull off tension. Extend the arm. Bringing the arms forward. Turn the palms up, crossing one over the other. Pull back towards those liver points. Reaching the arms back. And letting the arms rest to the side. Give it a little shake. Good. Shift your weight from side to side. Good. Pause in the middle. Pull the hands back. Step the feet together. Creating a fist. The right hand cover with the left. Hinging forward, bow. And honoring yourself for showing up today and practicing Qigong. Thank you for being here. I'm going to take this off.